These are the 4 variables I am having. And in Python, we do not actually need to declare the variables. Like C or C++, we have to declare that this is an integer type, this is a float type, or a string type. But in Python, it is not necessary. What you need to do, you just assign the variable to some value, and based on the value, the Python will automatically understand that this is a string or this is an integer, something like that. So if you see these 4 statements, W is true. That means I am explicitly saying that W is equal to some true value. So true and false are actually one type of a variable called the Boolean variables. So the value can either be 0 or 1 or true or false, right? Then if I am saying that x is equals to 5, I am not using any decimal number here, decimal point here. That means it will understand that x is some kind of an integer. Then if you want to declare it like a float variable, where you can actually store the decimal values, then you have to use some decimal point. So 10.0 means it is a float variable. And then if I am writing z is equals to some single comma, or you can say the double quotation mark or single quotation mark, both are the same thing. I'm writing z is equals to Python, so it will understand that this is a string variable. I'm writing z equals to Python like this. You can also say z is equals to Python in double quotation marks, but both will be the same thing. Okay. Now, if you want to know what is the type, then you can also print the type. Means if you write type of that variable, it will say that this variable is what type. So these 4 statements are actually printing the values of the variables and their types. So if I run these commands, then you can see W is equals to true, it's the value, and this is a Boolean type. Then X is equals to 5, this is an integer class. Similarly, Y is equals to 10.0 is a float variable, and Z is equals to Python is a string variable. This is clear to you?
Yes, yes.
Okay, but this is not necessary that you are always assigning a variable. Like I'm saying that Y is equals to 10.0. So this is float, but in the programming, if you want to convert this float variable to integer or a string, that is also possible. Means one variable can be converted to other form of variables. How we do that? That is, the procedure is called the casting. Casting means you are converting a variable into other types. So if I say x is equals to 5, it will be an integer. But if I am saying x is equals to string 5, that means it is equivalent to writing a quotation 5. It will be a string type then. And then if I'm saying y is equals to integer 5, so 5 of integer type will be stored in the y. So y will be an integer, storing 5 as a value. And if you say z is equals to float 5, so it is equivalent to 5.0. Okay. So this is the another way of declaring the variables of specific types. So if you run that, you can say that all are storing the 5 value, but they are having a different variables. One is a string type, another is an integer type, and third one is the float type. This is also possible that if you have converted a variable, let's suppose I'm saying z is equals to float 5, but you want to convert this to some integer value, you can also do that. How will you do? Let's suppose I'm saying w is equals to, if I say w is equals to z, then can you tell me what will be the type of w?
It is a string.
No, z is a float, right?
Okay. Yeah, float.
So w will also be float because you are assigning w z to the w. So they will have the same integer type or same data type actually. But if I say w is equals to z, but I want that w to be some integer type, then how can you do? You can say w is equals to integer z. Okay. So then if you want to know the type, you can print it. Then you will see that though z is a float variable, w will not be a float. It will be a integer now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, whenever you are doing some programming, you are writing a long code. then if you read that code again after a long interval of time, then sometimes it will become difficult for you to actually understand your own code.
Yes.
Because while you are writing a code, you have some perception in your mind, and you are knowing that this variable means this thing, this particular line means this thing, that you will be knowing. But after a long time, you will not be remembering that.
Yes. Yes.
So for those difficulties, or for actually making your code readable, for you to read it after a long time, or someone else to understand your code, Python uses some comments. So comments, actually all the languages uses comments. So here also we can use the comments. So there are three different ways to write the comments. So whenever you have a has in the beginning of any statement, that means that statement will be equivalent to a comment. Comment means the compiler will run the code and it will ignore those lines having a has. Yeah. So this line will be ignored. So let's suppose I am writing print introduction to Python, print classes, print by Lakshman Prasad Goswami. So in all these three statements, only second and third statement will be executed. First will be ignored. Okay. But let's suppose you have 10 number of lines and you want to comment all those 10 lines. Then putting a hash in all those 10 lines will be difficult, right?
Yes.
Not difficult, then it will be laborious task. You have to go each and every line and put a hash sign. So then there is a way of actually giving a multi-line comment. So how to do the multi-line comments? For that you can use the triple quotations. Okay, 3 quotation marks in the beginning of the 10 statements and in the end of the 10 statements. And whatever you write in between these 2 quotations, that all will be treated as a comment. These 4 statements that I have written, Lakshman Prasad Goswami, Physics by IITians, Class 1 on variables and comments, is all commented. It will not be executed. If I run all these statements, only 2 statements that are not having a hash sign or that are not having any quotation marks associated with them will be executed. Okay. So this is a multi-line comment and this is a single line comment. Any confusion up till this point?
No.
No. Okay, fine. Now, okay, this I have already told you while I was telling the string thing, that you can declare a string using a double quotation mark or a single quotation mark. Both are the same thing. Okay. So if I say x is equals to Python double quotation, y is equals to Python single quotation, both will mean the same. Or if you want to check whether they mean the same or not for the Python, then you can use a if statement. I'm writing a if statement, and this statement is actually checking if x double equal to y. Actually, this is I should tell this also. Let me actually make a. I'm adding a one more row. So here you can have x is equals to 5. This we have already seen when I was declaring the integer type, float type, or string type variables. I was saying x is equals to 5. And here I am saying x is double is equals to y. So what is the difference between single equal mark or double equal mark?
Single equal mark means I am storing that value inside that x, and double equal to marks means it is equal to that. I mean x equal to y.
So that is a condition check.
Condition check.
Correct. So here if I am writing x double equals to y, that means it will ask, it will check whether these 2 variables are the same or not. If they are same, then the output will be true, and if they are not same, then the output will be false. So if your x is equal to y, then print yes, else print no. So if these 2 variables are same, then print yes, else you will print no. Okay. So what are the variables? X is a double quotation Python and Y is a single quotation Python. And then you are checking whether these two are equal or not. And now I am running this code and you can see it is printing yes. That means Python is understanding single quotation and the double quotation as the same thing. It is not distinguishing the two, right? This is clear to you?
Yeah.
You understood the if statement?
Mm-hmm.
We will discuss more about the if statement in the coming lecture, or in this lecture only, maybe, because here only you have two statements. One is the condition is true, or another is condition is false. You can have multi conditions in that statement. That is also possible. So we will see that. Okay. Now comes the important part for the variable names. So what variables we should use? What is the naming should we choose for the variables? So one important thing is all the variable names are case sensitive. That means if you are saying small a is equals to 4 and capital A is equals to programming, the Python will actually understand a and small and capital A as a different variables. It will not consider them as the same. Okay. So I'm saying a is equals to 4, so a will be an integer type. I'm saying capital A is equals to programming in the double quotation marks. It will be a string variable, right? And if you run that, you can see a is 4 and it is an integer type, and a is equals to programming is a string type. So all the variables that we are using, we should always be careful that those are case sensitive. So here I am giving you actually a rule to actually give your name for the variable, so that you can, while you are doing the programming, you can understand what that variable means. So your naming should, your variable name should be easily understood. Means you will be able to decide what that variable means. If you are using all these numbers, like you are saying A is a variable, B is a variable, C, A, B, C, D, all the alphabets you are using, in the end of the program you are writing, you will be confused that what is this small a means, or what is this capital A, B, C, D means, right? So your name should, by default, signifies its meaning. So for that, we will be using a standard way to actually name a variable. Okay. So firstly, the general rule is that a variable can be a short name, like you are using XY, or it can be a descriptive name, like you can have a age as a name, car name, total volume, anything you can write. But there are some restrictions for us that we cannot use in a variable. First restriction is that a variable name must start with a letter or the underscore character, right? That means you can start it with a capital A to small z, all those alphabets are possible, or you can start from any digit like 0 to 9, and then you can start with a underscore. Further, but one thing that you should be careful, you can never start with a number. Your variable name cannot be started with a number, but that variable can contain a number inside it. I think you have a confusion there.
Yeah, I mean, variable name, I mean, 0, it can't be started with a number, but in middle there can be a number like that.
Other than the starting character, number can be anywhere, but it cannot be in the beginning. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Huh. Okay.
Okay, and it can, but it can only contain alphanumeric characters or underscore. Only these are the possible characters you can use in your variable. Then variable labels are case sensitive, that I have already told you. A's and capital A's and AGE, all three are different variables. Variable names cannot be any of the Python keywords. Like true is a keyword, that is a Boolean keyword. False is a keyword. So those keywords you cannot use. You cannot use an int. You cannot use a string or float as a variable name. Okay, these are the reserved keyword for the Python. So these are some examples of a variable names, like my variable you can use, my underscore variable you can use, underscore my underscore variable, it is fine, my variable is fine, all of them are fine with you, but you can not, you can see you can start with a character, you can start with the underscore, but you cannot start with a number.
Yeah.
Okay. But the proper way is to use multi-word variable names, and those words, instead of using the underscore, you can use a starting of the, okay, let me tell you, variable names with more than one word can be difficult to read. So what we can do, we can actually break the name. Let's suppose my variable name is, my variable name is the name of the variable. So if I write it like this, my variable name, so it will be difficult for you to actually distinguish all the what you call, all the words here. My is a different word here, variable is a different word, name is a different word, but it is difficult for you to understand. And what will happen sometimes that you will ignore this I, let's suppose you forget this I, then this will be a new variable now. And then if you are considering this to some other value, then there will be an error in your program somewhere. So to avoid such errors, the best way is to actually separate all these. So you can see this is a one way called the camel case, where your first character is small, my. Then when you are starting the second word, then you are starting with a capital V, then all are small again. Then capital N, all are small again. This is the one way. Another is a Pascal case, where you are first all the first digits are capital. So my variable name, any of the two you can use. Okay. Snack type is also there, where you are separating by a underscore. That is also possible. It's up to you which way you prefer, right?
Yeah.
In my programming, I usually prefer this type of nomenclature, camel case. Okay, but it's up to you. Any confusion up till this point?
No. Okay.
No confusion. Okay. Now we can have a Boolean type Python. Boolean means only the two possibilities, either true or false. So let's suppose this condition you can see. Print 1 greater than 5, print 1 double equals to 5, and print 1 less than 5. So what I am doing, I am actually comparing 1 and 5 inside a print statement. So this is also like a condition check. It will check whether the condition is false or true, and it will print accordingly. So 1 greater than 5, it is a condition check, and 1 is not greater than 5, so it will print a false statement. 1 is equals to 5, again the false statement, and here it is a true statement. Okay. It is similar to the if statement we were using in the previous example.
Yes.
Okay, so these are the three conditions check that we can have, but there are various other conditions also. So these are the 6 conditions usually we use. First is the equals. A double is equals to B. It will actually check whether the two variables are having the same value or not. So if they are having the same value, then it will be true, else it will be false. And this is the second condition, not equal. That means if these two variables are not equal, then it will be true. And if they are equal, then it will be false. It is just opposite to the equals thing.
Yeah.
Right? Then less than, A is less than B. If A is a smaller number as compared to B, then it will be true, else it will be false. Along with the less than, it is also checking the equal sign, then it is less than or equal to B, greater than B, or greater than equal to B. Okay, you are already knowing this, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay. We can compare the two numbers. If we have a, we can actually make a code that compares the two number and print out which one is greater using a if else statement. Let's suppose number 1 is 10 and number 2 is 15, and we want to check which one is greater. So if number 1 is greater than number 2, then it will print number 1, comma, single quotation, this is a string. So I'm just saying is greater than number 2. Else, if number 1 is not greater than 2, else then it will go to the second condition and it will print that number 2 is greater than number 1. Is these 4 statements clear to you?
Yeah.
Do you also understand how I am writing print statement with multiple inputs? There are 3 inputs, right? I'm writing number 1 and I'm not using any quotation. That means I'm just printing the variable itself. Then comma, then this is a statement I'm printing. So it is a string I'm writing in terms of in between two quotations. And then again comma and number 3. Right? And if you run that, you can see it is printing that 15 is greater than 10. It has actually checked the condition.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have your computer with you right now?
Yes, sir.
And you have opened the notebook, right? Okay, I have a small question for you. Instead of comparing 2 numbers, can you compare 3 numbers and print which one is greater?
3 number.
Yeah, number 1, number 2, number 3 you have, and you have to print which number is greater than out of 3.